We're back to discuss Crimson Peak, and if you saw our review, we were mixed on it. It's the pacing problems that it has. You said you didn't feel like it was a 2-hour movie. You were engaged with it. I wasn't. Aaron wasn't. And really, what it came down to was that if it were about uncovering the mystery of what's really happening here, it's not paced very well for that. Mm-hmm. It goes off in all these tangents and weird directions, and yeah, it's fine that you have a character that can see and talk to ghosts and interacts with them, and she's not particularly afraid of them. She just sort of notices them and asks them for help and all that kind of stuff. That's all fine, but you don't feel anything really building toward. It doesn't have the forward momentum all the time. A lot of it's just like she's just going to wander around the house until she finds the next piece of the plot, and then she finds the next piece of the plot and it moves forward. The fact that the two characters in the house besides her were the villains, like. Okay.
Yeah, but what happened to the groundskeeper guy? That's what was kind of weird. When they first pull up in the carriage and he gets all the stuff and he's there when they're working on the machine, but then...
Well, he doesn't live there. Like, they had a whole crew of people that were working on the machine.
Yeah.
They just went back to town afterward and...
Well, he mentioned they were going to have to stop working on the house, or working on the machine soon because
of the storm. Yeah.
The movie was just dull to me. You're building towards this twist, and when the twist happens, it's what you assumed was going to happen the entire movie, and so you don't really gain anything from it.
Yeah.
You know that Tom Hiddleston's boning his sister, and it's...
Yeah, like, it's not clear whether it's, like, really his sister or not, but, like,
yeah.
That's not, that big of a stretch, because they reveal it in two pieces. It is two separate lines, like, we're sleeping together, and yes, we actually are brother and sister.
Yeah.
Also, the ghosts don't need to exist.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, like, so are the ghosts a red herring that we keep waiting for this to be a haunted house that's, there's some evil spirit trying to kill them, like, we're worried that the mother is still there, some presence is still trying to get him.
I think that's when it failed, when she was down there in the bottom level the first time, and, the second time, because she ended up breaking the lock, and then the skeleton came up, and then it floated back down. I feel like there was more that could have gone with that, but it never got developed with it.
Yeah, and, there's been talk about how the trailer doesn't sell the movie correctly. I think one of the biggest things that the trailer misleads you about is how important the house is to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it sells you that the house is, like, where it's at. It's the it's the creepy part of the story, and they're showing you her, like, wandering around and the ghost things and all of that. And instead, like, in the first 5 seconds, like, her mother, like, puts her hand on her, like, the dead mother puts her hand on the girl's shoulder, and it's like, oh, well, this movie's just totally cool with ghosts, and this character is just totally cool with ghosts. And so we get to the house, and we're like, okay, yes, it's going to start, the creep factor is going to start going up, and weird things are going to start happening, and there's some stuff, there's some creatures and stuff wandering around and things like that, but it's not creepier to the character, and it's not creepier to the story than the mother was at the beginning, saying beware Crimson Peak or whatever, stay away.
I think what I didn't understand also is, like, I get that you keep marrying and getting all this money from all the women, but like, are you just pouring it into the repairs on the house? Are you pouring it into your machine? Like,
yeah.
What are you doing with all this?
They mention it. They say verbatim they've been sinking all the money into the machine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically the sister is older. Jessica Chastain's character is older, and she's the one that killed the mother. And they basically say that she like ended up in a mental institution, and the kid went into boarding. Tom Hiddleston's character went into boarding school, and then I guess they got back together and they came up with this idea where they can't really fix the house or solve the problem, but if they can get this invention to work, that they will. And it's almost like, to some degree, you get the sense, or at least the movie tries to push you in this direction toward the end, that Tom Hiddleston's sort of captive to her, that she sort of has power over him, and that he's not really, like, it's not the greatest plan to just keep putting money into this like disaster of a house, but it's like it's the one thing they have, and it's the only place where they're safe to be, continue their incestuous relationship. So that's what they have to do, and so he just sort of
continues,
does what he has to do to keep that going.
See, that's one of the things that killed me on it, was everything was done by Jessica Chastain's character. Everything. Like,
well, and
she admitted it, he admitted it. There was nothing, and especially in that time period, there was nothing to incriminate Tom Hiddleston's character.
But that's an important aspect of the story. They want him to be sympathetic.
But there's nothing tying him down. She mentions they'll hang him. Why?
I think it's just a
he could turn
He's
everything around on her, and nobody would blink an eye, because in this time period, the man is going to hold way more weight with what he says than her. So it just
I don't know.
Really
I don't know how you
sense.
Go to the police and say, "Look, I've been
held captive."
I've been like engaged in a conspiracy with my sister who's killed off all of my wives, and we're having
he could play off stupid. He's like, I had no idea that she was doing all these things. It was very weak.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point of it, I think the idea of it was so that we, as an audience, were a bit sympathetic to Tom Hiddleston's character.
Yeah.
And the movie script itself sort of plays with at the beginning when she's writing her story, and they want her to like add the love story into it. She's like, I don't really want to do that, and they're like, no, add like a chapter or two of a love story into it. That's sort of what this felt like too. It was like, well, Tom Hiddleston's not really a terrible, horrible guy. Mm-hmm. Like, so you can kind of like still think that he's like sweet, and he was a good husband, and he didn't actually sleep with any of the wives, because he didn't. They made a point of saying that.
Yeah, and he left them all because every morning she woke up by herself.
Well, and that was another of like Jessica Chastain's rules.
Yeah.
Like, she got really upset when she thought that they had slept together at one point.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It's a movie. We watched it. If you like the way we do these, please like the video, subscribe, check out all the written video reviews at DaleMaxfield.com, and thanks for watching.